Tomorrow People, episode 11, Rumble. This episode was another, it kind of incorporated some flashbacks, and I always love those episodes. Those are, like, my favorite three episodes are the flashback ones from, earlier in the season. And this one, once again, it focuses on Car. And one of the things I realized is I love how they always, in the flashbacks, it's a lot, it's before she was, really powerful and really comfortable with, who she was. So it had a great, contrast between the past and the present. And also, this episode introduced a character who's going to be a recurring villain, in the series. And I like this guy as a villain mostly for what I think they can do with his character, and that's that he could, somehow naturally evolve to the point where he can kill people because what he does is kind of beat people up until so the their trigger kicks in and he almost passes out. And I feel like at some point he do that so many times he kind of break through that, and the only person that could possibly stop him would really be John. But the character Julian, I think, was a really cool character, and I love how his motivation for becoming this like villainous character is really that he started off, he was already a kind of a bad guy where he would steal from other humans just because he's a tomorrow person, so he's like, we're more evolved. You kind of had the whole Magneto thing going, like, we're better, so we should just do what we want. And it's him and his girlfriend, and they find Kara in the past, and she's after she left her family for a couple of years, she's on her own, can't really use her powers too well, and they find her and they rescue her, and they teach her to use her powers, or they were planning to at least. And then the first real mission they have where they're going to steal from this one guy, Kara kind of lets him go because he gives her a fake sob story like, I have a heart condition, this and that. And so she lets him go because it's not really what she wants to do. And when Julian's girlfriend Ellie is killed, he kind of loses it. He kills that guy, and he tries to kill Kara. He chokes her, but it stops him. And after that point, he's just like, humans are weak and they deserve to have whatever torture we want to put on them. And I just think he's a really good character. And just once again, the contrast in the episode I really loved, where it was in the past it was her when she was really trying to figure out who she was and how to live with her powers, and then in the present it's her really growing as a leader, because in the last episode she was really unsure, she didn't want to be the leader. And in this week's episode, she's already been able to, she made a lot of serious decisions, and she let people know, like, I'm in charge, I'm confident enough to be in charge, and I can make the right decisions. I might not always make the right decisions, but I'm gonna help our people, and I'm gonna do everything I can, which she does with the new girl who she rescued, who's having all these issues with actually controlling her powers. But I love how they used her in this episode, where John's working with her because he's the only one who can really relate to that experience that she's having. And then in the end, when Kara's fighting against Julian's gang and everyone kind of runs on her, and she's fighting against him, which was a really cool scene. It was just like an all-out battle royale type of thing. And everyone kind of, it seems like they all just kind of run off because they're all getting beat up, and then you realize it's kind of a part of the plan, and she teleports away, and then the girl kind of just knocks out everyone in the room. And I thought just the imagery they used was kind of like in horror movies a little bit, where the girl's like screaming and the wind's blowing in her face. But I thought it actually looked really cool, and she's kind of like their secret weapon now. And if she's really that powerful, when she's already learning to control it, and she already has it under control, when she's able to actually go out into the world and help them with missions and kind of hone it in on people and not kind of just knock everybody out, she would be a really, really powerful weapon for them. So it was cool to see that character's evolution, the young girls, just through this episode alone, she's developing her powers, and John's able to help her out. And I thought that was just really cool how that all came together. And that was kind of the side story of the episode, even though it was fairly minor. And it tied into the main story as well. And then I guess sort of the other side story is Steven working with two other Tomorrow people for Ultra, and them trying to figure out how do we all work together and basically stay alive and keep our powers, and and also become agents. And the first thing I noticed in the beginning of the episode is the other guy, he's getting killed off. He's either gonna die or he's just not gonna be the one to make it. because he didn't say a single thing through the entire episode. And even in the first part, I was just like, well, that third guy he's toast, obviously, because, obviously Steven's the main character. And then the girl, whose name, of course, I can't remember, she's talking up a storm, and she's like the really powerful one. She's beating Steven and the other guy, during their combat training. And then he's just not saying anything. I'm like, well, it's pretty clear what's gonna happen. This guy's out, and Steven and the girl are gonna go on to be agents, and it won't just be one of them. And if it is, it'll obviously be Steven, over her. But that little side story I think is gonna be pretty cool. And then obviously it's a pretty big focus in next week's episode because she was following him, and she kind of saw him disappear with Astrid, so she knows he's connected to Astrid and that she knows he has powers. So I'm excited to see how he deals with that, and fighting against her while not losing to her inside of Ultra. So that'll be cool too. But really thought this was a good episode. Like I said, loved all the flashback stuff. That's always really cool. Love that Julian didn't get captured, because I cannot wait to see him come back, because I think he's a really good villain. Whenever they have villains who are tomorrow people, they tend to be like really really good villains. Like when John fought against the one guy who used to be his best friend, that guy was really really powerful. And it was just a really good episode, but also that kind of had a huge reveal to it. And in this one, it was more like we got the introduction of a villain who wasn't captured, and also he has a gang, so it kind of adds a new element to the show where it's going to be the tomorrow people, the good tomorrow people, versus Julian and his tomorrow people, who are obviously going to end up being villains. So it'll be cool to see him come back and him just going up against everybody and just destroying them, because of course he pushes himself to the limit to before he has like the huge headache. So I'm excited to see him come back, and his confrontation with Carr definitely really good, because he kind of tries to mentally screw with her and say like, you're weak, you're still the same person I always I knew before you, who just couldn't do this, and you're just weak and stuff like that. So it'll be really cool to see him come back and kind of play that mental game with her, but also he sort of screws with everyone else because he's so honed in on destroying her mentally that it affects everyone around her who does care about her. So him coming back, I'm definitely excited to see. But comment below, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Favorite parts, least favorite parts. And, with this guy, Julian, who, did escape, what do you guys want to see from his storyline? Because, of course, he's going to come back, because obviously he escaped, so he's going to come back for Carr. But what do you guys want to see when he comes back? Like, what's in your head? What do you guys want to see him do? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.